835. In the year of our Lord 1928, the boundaries between worlds were fractured. Several dimensions intertwined into a single event and sparked a chain reaction that nearly brought about the end of the known universe. Or perhaps the beginning of it. No one's really sure, it hasn't happened yet. Not now, anyway. We're not here to talk about the end of time and space, and you're not here to listen to us talk about it. You're here to listen to the story of Ocréchatte, Louisiana, which may also coincide with the end of time and space. There's not much to describe. Aside from the occasional chaser swarming and giggle rat breeding season, Ocréchatte isn't really a strange place to live. Sure, there's the problem with the pygmy hydras that keep eating the neighborhood dogs. The fat orange cats are supposed to be taking care of that problem. It's a shame they also keep eating the neighborhood dogs. And then there's the... Oh dear. Oh. I think that's Mr. Two-Before. Chasing a beagle. Oh dear. Well, anyway. Where was I? Oh yes. Then there's the crushers, the knockers, the omen spiders, and the blood moths that periodically cause a slew of mayhem. Actually, not the blood moths. They're pretty cool. Half of these occurrences would be a cakewalk, if not for the gliding scuttlers. Those things are nasty. Like great bats with long tails, rather hideous mouths in their chests filled with long, sharp fangs and spider legs around their toothy maws. And they're mean. One took off old Joe Betham's arm during a Tuesday outing. He was eating lunch and didn't get back indoors when the alarm sounded. He's all right now, thank goodness. Just minus one arm. There's Pastor George of the Ocréchatte Lutheran Church, well, this year anyway, and his endless ramblings about how the end is nigh and fire and brimstone shall rain from the heavens to level this city of sin and wickedness to the ground. What a joker. Then there's Andrew Matheson, who suffered horrors unimaginable after he went into the bayou and was devoured by a swarm of chasers. At least that's what most people say. Other sources say that Andrew was consumed by Bakra, the great water lizard. However, those sources are unreliable at best and total nutcases in earnest. We happen to think he left with his mistress in the next town over, but that's just our opinion. There's Mr. and Mrs. Fiskman, who fled from their hometown of Innsmouth, Massachusetts to escape prosecution. Prosecution for what? Nobody's sure. They're pretty secretive, so they stay locked up in their house and only come out for groceries once a week. From what we can gather, the Fiskmans come from a long line of inbreeding, much like the Habsburgs. Except this has resulted in them having large, flabby lips and what appear to be gills on the sides of their necks. There are several cults and organizations dedicated to different types of entities and deities that are all vying for office. Seriously, all these cult leaders are attempting to get politically instated as mayor. We won't even go into the art studio that may or may not be selling sentient pigments. Oh, speaking of sentient, there's a constellation that never seems to move from its spot in the night sky. Whenever we tune our radios into a specific frequency, it's like we can hear a voice behind the static. Here, have a listen. Our research has shown that the alien broadcast is emanating from that specific constellation. Sure, it could be a signal from another world, but we're pretty sure it's coming from that constellation. We aren't sure, however, that said constellation is friendly. Well, luckily it hasn't seemed to notice us yet, so fingers crossed. Madame Rose, or Rose Markins, if you know her personally, is a voodoo priestess who owns her shop on Roy and Jones Street. Rumor has it that she also owns a secret speakeasy in the back room. Nobody has ever been able to prove this, and nobody who ever goes in ever seems to come out. So it's just baseless allegations at this point. There's the haunted farmer's market downtown. Their pumpkins scream at random moments, and their tomatoes smell like roadkill, and also scream at random moments. There's the boutique store that on every 2nd of August catches fire, and the butcher shop that sits uncomfortably close to the local mortuary. Yeah, I don't even want to think about what goes on between those two. There's the salon owned by what we think is a vampire and her human husband. She hasn't told him yet, so he's going to get a nasty shock when he does find out. These establishments, however, are all unimportant. We know what you're here for. You're here to listen to the perilous adventures of Matthew Smythe and his cohorts, the Tall One and Frumpy. Okay, that's not their real names, but you get the idea. But before I continue onward, I think now's a good time for a word from our sponsors. To describe them in full would be to put the visage of the great Venus de Mio to shame. They were not composed of matter and flesh. Their form was that of a shape that could not be viewed with our simple orbs of gristle and optic nerves. Such an apparition could only exist in feverish visions of nightmare. They were like that of a blind man's vision given motion, the spiderweb fractals of a broken mirror given mind and soul, the shadow of a distant star brought to our corporeal existence, the many-faceted eye of God. Such visions, such glorious madness. I myself have seen such things, for the children without meaning still speak to me in my dreams. They speak with no voice, they sing with no rhyme nor song, they dance with no movement or bacchanal. They move through the stars, unseen and unseeable. Why do apples taste like feet? Why must they? I will not place such things in my mouth! This has been brought to you by toothpaste, the #1 option for a wider smile. Matthew Smythe is the quote-unquote peppy and eager store clerk of the Price and Hologeist Antique Shop, owned by the eponymous proprietors, Mr. Price and Mr. Hologeist. Not much is known about either except for the fact they're both terribly shady. Mr. Price's real name has been lost to the mists of obscurity. All that's known is that he lived during the Spanish Inquisition, and rather enjoyed it, that he was responsible for the Boston Tea Party, that he was a successful theater actor during the 19th century, that he and Mr. Hologeist were the real Burke and Hare, and that the idiots they caught were, in fact, framed. Supposedly, Mr. Price was forced to pose as a woman, so he and Mr. Hologeist could get married in order to escape Bosnia during some unspecified point in time. That he was deeply inspired by Madame Blavatsky's Lost Lemuria and root races, and that both he and Mr. Hologeist knew, and rather detested, Grigory Rasputin, comparing the fellow to a cockroach. Matthew always took this to be confirmation that Mr. Price was one of the Russian mystics' assassinators. Mr. Hologeist is much more reticent concerning his history. The only things that are known about him are through his shared history with Mr. Price. Anything else before then is up for speculation. The antique shop is home to all sorts of different oddities and curiosities. There's Bob, a taxidermied werewolf from Bavaria. There's the vampiric mummy from Egypt, a series of small creatures in glass cases like the Babblemouther beast, the gibbering maw, a pickled imp, a conjoined twin, and a radioactive iguana, to name a few. This is only a sampling of all the different occurrences that go on in Ocréchatte. There's all sorts of things that happen in our dear city. We're a bit off the beaten path. You might stumble upon us. We are a bit old-fashioned, if you say so. This is just our way of life. Should you decide to leave, don't bother looking for us. You won't find us on any maps, and don't go asking about us either. Not unless you want a bunch of raised eyebrows and a phone call from your nearest psychiatric institution. By all accounts, our city does not exist. It has not existed for nearly 100 years. Not since the Great Fire that consumed it, back on January 8th, 1929. And now, introducing the #1 hit single from Catskull and the Resurrectionists, Once More with the Shovel, My Good Grave Robber. We hope you've enjoyed this prelude to Drav'Yn, Carrion Dancing, a podcast created, written, and directed by Dean M. Coursien and distributed by Freaky Felyne Productions. If you did enjoy, be sure to like and subscribe to Freaky Felyne Productions. We look forward to seeing you in the first episode to Drav'Yn, Carrion Dancing. But until then, stay safe out there, and thanks for listening.